Welcome to That Moto Show with Dirt Bike TV's Jake Clark and producer Donnie Bales.
Show 24. We are here, and this is like a false start because we actually started this show, went 5 minutes in, and then red flag because Donnie didn't hit a button.
Somebody is a failure.
So
I think you might need...
Didn't turn the gas on the petcock. Okay, that whole thing.
Hey, I had a friend that would turn his gas off in between riding, and he forgot and broke his leg.
Yep. Don't do that. So...
False start. I'm sorry.
I'm going to have to remind Donnie every time.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're back in the show, 24.
24.
I think of Steve Langston as 24.
Yeah, Steve Langston.
Who else do you think of?
Ernesto Fonseca.
Yes, unfortunately, he got hurt.
He got hurt with that. I believe with that number.
He looked so good on that Honda. That was good.
I think he's underrated as a rider sometimes.
He was great. I want to ban injuries in our sport because we have so many cool, great guys like that have been hurt, seriously hurt like that. And I got buddies and like Brad and different people. It's like, it's just such a life-changing deal. And then obviously we all think about it. I was joking around this weekend with the guy, when you're riding the track and you go over at the Vet National, which we'll talk about, but they had the ambulances set up on my left when I go around. And I'm like, so every lap you'd look over and see the ambulances. And I'm like, that was bad mojo, bad karma.
You know what that is? That's instant chop the throttle.
Right. So, and whenever I'm out there on a practice day, and this would always bug me, there'd be a guy on the side of the track and he's wearing a halo. He's got the bolts in his head and he's got the halo. I'm like, dude, don't do that. Like I'm going over the jump and I look over and I see the guy and I'm like, that's just like...
Okay, I remember one time I was going to ride someplace like Paris or something, and I go to leave my house, and there's a guy in a wheelchair going down the street. I'm like, dude, I just want to go home.
So anyway, bad mojo.
Yeah, that was a false start on my part.
So the news of the week, we got the Vet National at Glen Helen, which was a huge turnout. Tons of guys from all over the world, 20 countries represented. They have a World Cup of Nations where you have a 30 plus, a 40 plus, and a 50 plus year old rider from your country.
Yeah.
And I think Canada won. Great racing, really cool. Kiefer's out there, Morris, Brown.
Obviously, the 30 pro class is the big class.
Right. And Nicoletti won that.
He did.
And the funny thing was, I watched the interview with him last night, and which he really pumped up Twisted, who helps him a bunch.
Yeah.
So he's riding a YZ450. He was from, with Club MX. It sounds like this is kind of going to be his new deal, like FXR brand guy, like what Brown's been doing, come out maybe for the two-stroke race, do some of these selective races.
He can still make a living doing this.
I think so.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's going to be like this guy.
And Brown was there?
And Brown was there.
How did he do?
I think he was right up in there. They were right in the mix.
Isn't he like
I'm always busy.
Almost 50?
Oh, yeah.
Or is he over 50?
He's got to be over 50.
Spencer. Is he over 50?
He'll look it up. Oh, Spencer's listening to us, by the way. We're not in the wild anymore. We're in studio, which I forgot some of the stuff I said in the previous show. So this interview with Nicoletti, he goes, you have to remember, this guy just retired from real, he's just going to transition now to fun guy racing, vet guy stuff, right?
Yeah.
He just raced all the nationals. He says, this was the toughest track he rode. Glen Helen. Yes, vet race. So they just don't prep it deep, and it has this chop that's just next level. So
yeah, do they not prep in between Tuesday and Thursday? Do they don't?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, regular. Do. Yeah, well, yeah.
Because I always feel like Thursday's rougher than Tuesday. Always.
Yeah, I think they're pretty similar. Thursday gets rougher quicker.
Nicoletti had to have raced Glen Helen Nationals in the past.
Oh yeah.
Because
but it was more rutted and deep.
Right.
Yeah, because they would rip it.
Yeah, they would rip it.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy though.
Yes. So anyway, that was the
How
big
many
news.
guys?
There was 1,200 racers, is what I heard, and they had 3 gates for most of the races. The track was so long.
Are you counted in that 1,200?
No, I was riding sweep. So the races were. The lap times were like 250 for the fast guys, 330 range or whatever, or longer for the slower guys. And so they're able to run 3 gates, get a lot of guys through. It was 3 motos. So the guys got their money's worth. The funny thing was this first race was 45 novice. Okay, they had 2 gates.
Yeah.
So you had 2 gates of same race, right? They're like 30-something guys in each one.
Yeah.
So then they were going to, if you were top whatever, you would then move into the next section, right? After it was over, hear him on the announcer thing. They say the top 3 from the first one, top 3 from the second. You guys now are on race 9. They got moved up to intermediate.
They got bumped because they just ripped it.
I think they won by too much. So if you're going to sandbag your first moto, you got to play it safe, like work your way up to 4th or 5th so that you're good for the main, kind of thing.
This is why I don't go to, I used to go to Mammoth years ago.
Oh, it's terrible.
And it's like the sandbagging is just like you automatically go down a class, I guess.
Right. It's terrible. So anyway, I guess they feel good about themselves. But yeah. So I don't race for real too much, so I can't talk much. But anyway.
Yeah. When's the last time you raced a full, like both gates, then actually raced?
15 years.
15 years.
Like legit.
Yeah,
real stuff.
For me, it's always, I did the work stuff.
I think Spencer, he texted you.
Oh, he said 52. I didn't realize he was
52.
52.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does so good. That's only 3 years younger than me.
Right. My good buddy, Grant Langston, had a lot of battles with that guy.
Yeah. He's like 8 years younger than you.
He's like 8 years younger. Yeah. 8 years younger. And Grant's 10 years younger than him. So Grant's 10
42?
years. Yeah.
He really?
Yeah, 42. Maybe he's 40. He just turned 43. But I'm saying that's how much older Brownie is than GL. And he had a lot of good battles with him.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so it was a great time out there. Vet motocross is alive and well. A lot of guys like it.
Are there any other places in the country that have any other big vet race like this?
There's a big one back east. Mount Morris has one in the fall.
They do.
They do a vet, like championship type
But nothing
race.
of this caliber.
No. But I think it gets a good crowd.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot more racers to draw from, I think.
Listen, I've said this many times. Only one person buys a bike, and that is a vet. He's either buying it for his son or daughter or for himself.
Right.
There's no 20-year-olds, my 80-20 rule. There's no 20-year-olds buying bikes right now.
Very tough.
Very
tough. You can barely afford to live. Right.
And then before our fall start, we also talked about the FIM World Supercross,
which is fun to watch. Anything we're so addicted to racing, we'd watch Turtles racing if they had a motor, right?
Yeah.
But
we went to our house in Havasu, and I told Tish, I kind of want to jam back. Well, I wanted to jam back to get ready for this, right, for the show, and then she's like, she's like telling the kids, when we get home, don't go in the living room because I'm sure there's a race on. She thought I was jamming back because she doesn't keep track of when races are on. And she thought, because when there's a race on, I basically quarantine off the living room. So I'm like, no, but there are a couple of good ones coming up.
Right. So we got a little while to wait for, but we still got Roxon.
Another week, right? We have another week for Perth.
Yeah. So Roxon and Tomac, and then Freeze gets the whole shot on those guys, so it kind of messes things up. So it makes it fun. It's interesting. It's fun to watch. And
Freeze is the track. All the promoters should just hire him as an obstacle. Right. You're not a racer anymore. You're just an obstacle on the track.
like a whoop.
Like a whoop.
Wall. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, let's show this. This is really cool. This is the brand new Racer X magazine. Look at this. Brand new. We got our CR250. This is the MC themed looking 96 CR250, and this
the 1-800 collect bike.
We had this at the Langston show last week or two, and really fun times out there at that show. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. We have some footage to show you guys from the show, so we'll talk more about that then. But the big news here is I'm going to start to finally sell these bikes. So guys been bugging me, so I haven't really advertised them yet. My wife's kind of pushing like, hey, let's make some room in here.
You know what you should do? You should surprise her one day and stage them inside the house for a photo shoot or something. When she's out, how would Sarah feel about that?
I don't know. It wouldn't be good.
It wouldn't be good. So, what do you think? How fast do you think these bikes will go?
I don't know. I'm not too concerned, I guess. If it took me a year, I don't even care.
Right.
Because I've had them so long. So I'm not too worried about it. So
so I have another question, which I didn't bring up in the false start. You told me at one point that this was the worst bike that you had ever done.
The KX500.
The KX500 was the toughest one that you'd ever done.
Yeah, these fall right in there because these older builds.
Weren't these worst? I mean, like,
and
the suspension.
One of the questions today kind of addresses that, so we'll talk about that a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So these things just take so much work and effort to do them right, like the level at which we did them. Now, some guys hit me up and they're trying to find, and we'll get into this in that question, but you're not fixing these things up to really ride them for real, because if you are, you're going to run into some real problems because the parts aren't available.
Yeah.
You get your transmission, whatever, suspension.
These bikes are like land, right? They're not making any more of them.
No, there's no more parts. So So we got that.
What was the hardest part for you to get?
Those airbox boots, the suspension. We did 10 sets of suspension to make 5. 8 engines to make the 5. Transmissions going through. And Brad's the one that really dug through all that stuff and lined everything out to make sure it was all good parts left. You know, we didn't use any questionable parts, you know.
Right.
Cylinders, tons of cylinders out there have been sleeved. And we didn't want to run a sleeve cylinder. So I had to find good core cylinders that weren't sleeved and good power valve pieces. So it's a job.
Hey, any of these bikes come complete like a running bike? Did any of them come?
One was a together. It wasn't running. I think it was missing a carburetor or something silly.
Okay.
But it was together. And so let's just bring up that picture in the folder Spencer has. Let's bring up that picture of the CR250. This is from a guy, Jacob S. Hey Jay, I'm looking to buy a 95 CR250. Every 4th kick or so, it skips internally. Will the cases need split, and do you think the parts are available? Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Here's a picture of the gym. And as you can see in the picture, this thing's been sitting outside. It's got some rust on it. And I rode him back and basically told him I wouldn't buy one of these things if I wasn't anticipating splitting the cases, first of all. So that's a given. You need to do that. He freed it up. He got it working, apparently. But I wouldn't buy one of these things just to ride because it's, you know, they're 30-year-old bikes. So it's not a good
Eventually, you won't be riding it.
And suspension parts are gonna fail, and transmission parts and things like that are gonna fail. So, and when the crank goes out on those, so the tin can cranks, when the cranks go out, they wipe out the cases, and they get you have to weld up cases and fix them, which is very difficult if you don't have a good guy around you like we do. So you have to do all that kind of stuff. So you can see in this picture, this bike's pretty rough, got some rust on the frame, rust on the chain. It's been sitting outside some. Again, to me, most of these bikes that I started with were valued, you know, in the free to 500. I think most I paid was like
negative.
Yeah, I paid like 800 for one, and the rest I think were much less.
I mean, that's something you've pointed out many, many times, that if the bike isn't really at the free or the $200 range, it's not worth it anyway. But if you're paying any money, a lot of people value their stuff more than they're really worth.
Well, because if he bought it for $1,000, he bought the bike for $1,000. If you were to fix it up to the level we did, you're looking at $6,000 to $7,000. You know, to do the frame, to weld up things, to go through the engine, vapor blast everything, replace the bearings and seals, work up plastic, graphics, bars, chain and sprockets, tires, wheels built. Wheels is huge. I mean, $1,000 to build wheels nowadays. And then rotors. It's incredible. And the suspension work, I was doing the math. So to build one just with parts and a little bit of labor costs in farming things out, you're looking at $6,000 to $7,000 to do one.
You want to know? When I was working for Dirt Rider, I bought one from Honda.
Yeah,
and you know. We did a story on the bike, and I had 11 sets of pipes and silencers.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. From Honda, 94, I paid $2,400 for it with enough parts to build several other bikes.
Well, you should have kept it all.
Isn't it funny?
Right.
Like, I'm saying, like,
you didn't think you would ever.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, who would have thought?
Who'd have thought that? All
right. Well, so anyway, so I told Jacob, and then he ended up buying it anyway. So sometimes we get assholes. You know what those are? You seen that sign?
Yes.
They ask you and still do the opposite. Or whatever. Right. But I think they ask you because they want...
they want you to reaffirm their decision.
Right. And we do that when relationships with my wife or whatever, but we just want someone to agree with us. So you're not really asking, right?
Yeah.
You're not really asking. You're hey, would you agree with me on this?
Yeah.
Is what you really should say. And then they're like, no.
Yeah.
That's not a good idea. So anyway, so the next one, let's talk about, there's some good pictures of, these are top clamps for a KTM. And you can probably even see that they're bent. They rock like this. And I got some good pictures that we can show right now. A good friend of mine, he crashed and kind of broke up his hand and stuff. Anyway, he finally put his bike back together, and he said he needed to buy a new top clamp and the one lower one. Well, we got pictures right here showing his bent. I walked him through this just on text and on the phone. I said, hey, I said, send me pictures and I'll tell you what to do. He sends me pictures. It's bent like heck. I said, just chop it off. You get a hacksaw, chop it off.
By the way, can you straighten that?
No,
right.
No. And that's another thing. He goes, I tried. He goes, it's not fixable. Well, you can't bend it back. Like, you're never going to get it perfectly flat. You know, on a surface plate, this thing's going to rock. So, and that's what makes the bars feel like the bars are bent, but the bars really aren't bent. It's the mount. So if you just cut off this support through the middle and do that, if it's the bottom one too, most of them don't have a bottom one like this, like you see in this photo. You just cut them off, and you could blend it with like a saw, like a sanding. What do you call that? A belt sander.
Belt sander.
Belt sander. You can just blend it back in, so you don't really see it.
Scotch-Brite, maybe.
Yeah, blend it back in with the band saw, with a. I said that again. Yeah, what's that saw?
Belt sander.
Belt sander. So hit it with the belt sander, and then polish it up. You'll be just fine.
Hey, do you remember I had one that was bent, and you couldn't even tell it was bent, and it was on, like, you rocked it, and it looked like it was like a millimeter.
That's all. It would just barely move.
Just barely.
This one's huge. This one's like a 1/4 inch, but some of them just barely move. That's why we put them on a surface plate.
Yep.
Where it's really flat.
I couldn't even tell, and then I'm like, wait a second, and the bars were never straight. Now we cut mine.
And if you don't have a surface plate, a piece of glass will work too. Is a pretty flat surface to set stuff on. That's a good little trick there too. Okay, we got some pictures of some metal material have you seen this in the new generation frames, the 24, 25? There's a bunch of slag, like leftover welding balls and messed up little pieces. And you can see in these photos, guys send this, and I got these sent to me, and people are paranoid. And I don't doubt that this happened, but what happens with the intraweb, I call it, is that these things start to snowball into a huge thing. And so on these new generation KTMs, that they are now, everybody's like, oh, we're all going to have this stuff. We've pulled apart a few, yours included, and we haven't seen any of this.
Haven't seen them.
Right. So I don't doubt that it happened, but what happens with the internet is that everybody blows things up way larger than it is. So be careful of that. Just know that they can be isolated cases. Some guy drinking on early on a Friday. I
always say that one's made on a Friday.
Right. And somebody just told me, oh my gosh, I forgot about this. I think it was a KTM too. Something wasn't right in the top end, right? They take it off. The valve springs, intakes were on the exhaust, and exhaust ones were on the intakes. Was all totally wrong.
They don't even fit.
They got them all to fit.
I mean, just saying, they don't even seat.
Yeah, it was a mess. And luckily, the bike had, I think it was a KTM, but I'm not positive which brand it was. But they had taken it apart before it had run. It started at the factory, but they took it apart, and you could see it, and he showed it. I can't remember what it was. But anyway, so stuff happens.
And KTM took care of that?
Because now, I don't know. The guy had it off. I think he just fixed it. It was a shot, like an engine builder shot. Oh,
right. Okay.
So he just got lucky and found it.
If it wasn't damaged, it's like...
Right. They just fixed it. He had the head off already and fixed it. So that was kind of interesting. So be careful on assuming that the sky's falling, I say, when things start to snowball. Okay. Now, here's my next one. I got a guy. One of my most common things is, I love for guys to send us questions, especially questions we can use on the show. I also like to help people with things we can help with, right? But I only do it through email. And what's happened to our society now is you talked about that Idiocy, that movie? Idiocracy.
Yep.
Well, our society's, no one's using email anymore. A ton of people don't use email.
They just want to DM.
So I get all these emails. They email me, and then it gets kicked back when I write them back because their email's full. Like they don't manage they don't use email, or something's wrong. And so a ton of people are like, hey, he never wrote me back. Well, because your email don't work. So Lineman Gregory 59, okay, this guy, his email got kicked back. So he's just one of many. It happens all the time. Like a few a week get kicked back because they don't have their email working. So fix your email, and I will write you back. But he had a problem where on the swing arm bolts, adjuster bolts.
What bike?
For the chain. I don't even know what bike it was.
But yeah, okay.
And
they seize up.
The nut was stuck. Oh. The nut was, you don't want to strip the nut. I said, hey, so if it's ever tight, you're questioning it. You haven't ruined anything yet. Take the rear wheel off, okay? Soak that thing with some PB Blaster, okay? Okay, soak it up there. We have taken swing arms off when we're serious, like if we think it's really stuck. But it sounded like it was somewhat newer bike. So soak it. And then what I do is get a 6-point, you can put a T-handle, because with the wheel off, you can get a T-handle there, a 12 or a 12 deep socket, but a 6-point, not a 12-point socket. So a 6-point socket. If you don't know the difference, just Google it, right? You got to have a 6-point socket so it gets on every side of that socket, and then you should be able to break it loose. Now, you can also use a little bit of heat on there, but if you have put some blaster on there, make sure you've cleaned all that off. I contact clean it, then blow it off with air, and then put your heat on there so you don't start a fire. Okay, so be careful.
Just swing them on fire.
There you go. He told me to use heat after the PB blaster, and then he blew up his garage.
Hey, this chain adjuster bolt deal has been a problem since the dawn of time.
Right.
Nobody, like I put anti-seize on all mine.
Every time.
Yeah.
So brand new, we put them on, you know that. And
yeah.
So whenever, and if the longest we'll ever wait is the first time we do a chain.
Right.
So if we put a new chain on, then we're going to just pull them all the way out.
Even every time you change a tire, just check those bolts.
Right. So keep anti-seize on there. So breaking that thing loose isn't that hard. Okay, then we got a really funny story. So my buddy TC, our show like 22, I said this comment, and he brought it up to me because he actually pays attention. He goes, you said you were going to bring up in the next show. Well, the next show was a remote show. He said I was going to bring up a funny one in the next show.
Okay,
so I had this guy write me, and I got photos. You got some photos of this Yamaha you can put in here right now. He wrote me on a 2019. First of all, he says, hey, I love your show. Recently got back into riding. And he started with a 96 CR 125. He got an 03 XR100, and he's tried all these other bikes. He had an 80 before that, XR80. And now after that 125, he's worked up to a 2019 YZ250F. He purchased it from a young man. This young man was a racer, obviously, okay, because this thing was a race bike and a woods race bike. He has the IMS tank on there. He wants to address all these issues. He wrote out all this stuff to address on this bike. And he says he's planning on doing the linkage and the service and all this stuff, right? And he also says when the bike is idling and I put it in first gear, it clunks out, and I used to have to restart it, and the bike cracked the throttle when he goes to start it. And that's somewhat normal in the sense of if the idle's a little low, they'll chug, especially if it's on the bike stand and when you put it in gear. So I'm always cautious of making too many assumptions of a bike. What it's doing right off of idle, especially if it's not fully warmed up. So especially on the KTM bikes because of our hydraulic clutch that you got to bleed. So he asked me all these questions, and he asked me, what are your overall thoughts on this 2019 bike? Sorry, this email's so long. It was this long right here.
That's right the entire email?
That's it right here. And it goes in the first two paragraphs here. So I write him back and I said, don't get mad at me, LOL. But this is like a kid coming to me after he got the girl pregnant. So you don't come ask me.
How do I prevent this?
Right. Okay, so you need to. So first of all, we have a video on buying used bikes. Okay, you can go to our YouTube. If you have any problem, just email us. I'll give you the link if you can't find it. But we have a video that goes through these tips. Okay, so there's lots of things to consider. Used 250Fs are at our highest of our caution radar. Like red alert, be careful of used 250Fs. That's our first caution. This is a bike that you really want to, any of them, any brand. The Yamaha 2019, this brand, valve train, cam chain, and rod all have potential issues, especially if it's been raced. So these are bikes that I would only consider buying if they were very cheap. Like a 2019, like a 5-6-year-old bike like that, I would want to be like under $3,000 kind of thing, like cheap. Assuming that it's going to need a rebuild, and then it's a lot of work, So most of these older 250Fs are getting parted out because it doesn't make sense to fix them up.
Would you assume, this is kind of a broad question, but that 250s are raced more than 450 used bikes, not pro bikes,
yes.
But wouldn't you assume that 250s are being raced more than 450s?
Yes.
Because young kids are coming up.
Young kids are racing more.
That's right.
So kids are racing these things. And so buying a used race bike is just a tough call, period. And a 250, very, very sketchy. So I say run away. So I told him, I said, you should have hit me up before you bought it. My number one advice on this bike is to put as little money into it as possible and sell it. So I told him, just make sure it's running and sell it.
Hey, when you crush people's dreams, do you get a response?
He was actually really cool. He actually decided he was going to sell it and get something better or something
good
newer.
For him.
Yeah, and I think he did. So that was really cool. So I helped answer some of his questions on the suspension and different things. But this bike, just if he did the suspension service and did all this work, easy $1,500 and on top of this thing where, now I have seen some really good deals on 250Fs, but you can tell that it's got the stock graphics. It's never had graphics on. You can tell the cases haven't been worn. It hasn't been raced. And you're having to trust a guy. I talk about this in the video. You're trusting the integrity of the guy that you're buying it from. So I get him on the phone, talk to him a few times, make sure you feel comfortable. A lot of people throughout the country, they're driving 2, 4, 6, 8 hours away to go buy a bike. You know,
bumper to curb warranty.
Right. And they're not buying, like when we have so many options here, a lot of us don't want to drive more than a half hour to go buy a bike, right? Like
I don't leave my neighborhood.
So with traffic and everything in California, that's a common thing. So anyway, that's something to consider when you are looking at used bikes. Feel free, and I have guys that will actually send me 2 or 3 links to the Facebook ad or Craigslist or whatever it is, and go, "What do you think?" And I click on it and I tell them what I think. Oh, hey, that one's pretty good. I would do this one, and see if you can get them down $500 or whatever on this one. That's probably a good one to go with, you know.
Yeah.
But again, no matter what though, you want to get the guys on the phone. If they don't want to talk to you on the phone, just move on.
So let's try to estimate, how many bikes do you think you've bought in your lifetime?
Oh, yeah.
Could you even estimate?
Oh no, 100. I mean, from used, and I've sold more, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be more than 100.
Yeah.
How many of those 250Xs did you have? You had like 7.
I went through like 7 or 8.
7 or 8
of those
of them.
alone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's hundreds, I guess. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's got to be hundreds.
Can't even fathom it.
No.
In the last few years, I've made a spreadsheet. We have a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
With all the VIN numbers and everything, and what you know, it's insured or not insured, and then below that, I have all the bikes I've sold. And that's just in the last, you know.
Hey,
12.
I was going through, I'm overwhelmed with videos on my hard drives, and I started going over, and like 12 years ago, I started deleting a bunch of those old, I couldn't believe how many there were that we made of those bikes.
Yes.
Like, I'm just like, oh my gosh, there was just video after video of us doing all kinds of carb mods and all that stuff on there. Remember that?
They were fun bikes.
Yeah. Those were actually really good bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. You want me to read a question?
Let's go.
All right.
Now we're finally on to Donnie's questions.
Yeah, maybe. If I could learn to read, it'd probably be better. All right. Ronnie H. He says, "Hi, Jay. From your videos, I get the impression you have a lot of people to ride with and many places to ride. How often do you ride alone? If riding alone was all you had, would you keep riding? And if the closest riding areas were 2 hours away, in parentheses, and would ride alone when you got there, would you keep riding? Thanks for all your thoughts and for all of your great dirt bike videos. Regards."
Okay. So, first of all, yes, I would ride by myself. Okay, so first thing. Now, second thing is, he says he's driving 2 hours away to go ride. And I'm assuming he's riding at a riding area. These riding areas are going to have other people there. Okay, Moto people are some of the easiest people to make friends with. Like, especially if he's going to a riding area, park next to somebody and say hi. Say, "Hey, my name's," what's his name?
Or Ron H.
Ron. "Hey, my name's Ron." So you got to be a little bit outgoing. Put yourself out there. "Hey, I'm Ron," and kind of look for some people.
Hey, what just happened to me?
What's that?
I went to the KTM rally by myself.
Yeah, you did, and you ran into a guy that we knew, that I know, James. Yeah.
And I just rode with him.
Right. So this community is a lot more inclusive and befriending than you would think.
Hey, and that wasn't 2 hours away. That was 18 hours away.
Right. So now here's my next things for you is I think there's some riding. There's 2 things that I think of. First of all, if riding is 2 hours away, then I would probably consider a dual sport. Okay, so if that means that you're only going to trail riding areas, then I think you need a dual sport to get around from your house, around your community, to find some dirt. Now, so if you have a dual sport that's legal, you won't get any hassle. Depending upon where you live, a lot of areas you can just ride whatever. But let's say you want to be legal, so then you ride a dual sport. And that guy goes, "There's no riding areas." There's 2 areas there's always riding. You know what they are, Donnie? In most towns. The dump, number 1. What's the next? Train tracks. So if you find a dump or train tracks, go look around there.
There's something else too, and
power lines.
I've noticed. Aside from that, Facebook always has groups in your area to ride with.
That's a good. I see a ton of them.
Yep.
Different groups. So that's how you could do it. You got to put yourself out there a little bit. But yes, I still would have no problem riding by myself. And it's obviously not as fun. And then there becomes a safety factor that you want to have somebody there if you do have a problem. But that's something I would consider is a dual sport ride, finding something close, because if he's 2 hours away, he's not going to ride that often. That's another problem.
Right.
So for Ron to ride more, get a dual sport, ride close, and then when you go to riding areas, make friends there.
Also, tell your wife, if she wants to join any new couples anywhere for like couples night someplace, make sure that other person rides dirt bikes.
Like-minded, we say.
Like-minded.
Donnie doesn't want to associate with people that aren't like-minded.
I won't go play. My wife said, hey, let's go. I go, do they ride dirt? I'll even go if they race off-road cars and stuff like that. If they're in the dirt, I'm like, I can go and talk to them.
I noticed your whole cul-de-sac is all like-minded.
Yep.
By the signs in the front yard.
Yeah, there's quite a few signs here. That nobody's coming down here that isn't of that mindset.
Okay. All right. What do we got next?
Let me see. James P. Hey, old buddy. Got a question. The 150 I rebuild has about 10 hours on it. It started running bad. Took the carb off. The reeds, one broke. Is that the problem? Just wondering, you think the broken piece went out? Because my problem always, thank you, your opinions.
We need to have you pre-read these. Okay.
No, but this was...
Just you got to pre-read them. Come on.
I get you, but...
All right. Well, it's fine. But,
okay.
But so he's asking, and we have a photo here of his broken reed.
Yeah.
We have it in the folder for you. So his broken reed pedal, what he's wondering is if this broken reed pedal has gone down into his crank. That broken reed pedal's down the track somewhere. So it shot out through that engine, went out the exhaust, into little grinded up pieces, out the silencer, and is long gone. So you don't have to stress it. It's gone. So simple next. What's next?
Yeah.
So it's gone.
Yep.
Ready for the next
Eric
one?
H. Hi, Jay. I'm rebuilding a 2000 CR250. Just looking to see if you've done one of these and what mods I should consider. Thanks.
Okay, so a real nice guy. I just actually wrote him back last night. So again, a little bit, this goes back to my steel frame bike stories, but this is an aluminum frame bike. This is a really good bike. But when I write this guy back, one of the things I say is, hey, if you just do the basics, first I do the suspension and make sure the suspension's good to go. That's going to range anywhere from $500 to $1,000, range. Just to get new oil and seals and maybe some springs for you, all that, do that. And the next thing would be the engine, going through the entire engine and all that. That can be another $1,000, right? So then if you throw some plastic on it, tires, chain and sprocket, another $1,000. So
is there a cutoff right now on two-stroke gears that the parts are easier to get? I mean, obviously we know Yamaha's new and whatever.
No, but like even that 2000, you're not going to get air boots. Those won't be available. Either one from the from the engine to the carburetor or from the carburetor to the air box. Those two won't be available, but you can, find some stuff on eBay, but no one's making that stuff. People go, why don't they make stuff for this? Because they're going to sell like 30, So, and it's like $100,000 for a mold. So no one's going to do it.
I'm always thinking about like gears and countershafts and stuff like that. Like, are there no newer model stuff that would fit it? They just don't fit.
No. So you're having to go to eBay. And when you search for parts, I get guys write me about this. If you find a part that's not available, a couple things I suggest. I just thought of this because I've done little videos on this before. But look up the part number for the part. Okay, and you got the whole part number. Put it in Google and then write Honda after it, whatever brand it is, right after it. And then search it. See if you can find it. Sometimes you'll find it on eBay and it'll be for sale. A used one or a new one will be for sale. That's it. The other thing is call your local dealer and see if they use Lightspeed as their computer system and give them the part number and say, hey, can you search the other Lightspeed dealers throughout the country? And they will look it up. And Buzz at ECC will do it for me. So he would do it for anybody if you call over there. So, and they'll find a dealer in the country somewhere that might have it. Now, their inventory could be off. So sometimes if there's 2 or 3 dealers, I'll write them all down. I call one, they don't have it. Call one, they have it. And they'll usually sell to you at a fair price. They're not usually ever selling it for more than retail. And they usually give you a little bit off since it's so old. They just want to get rid of it.
New old stock.
Yeah, I found some old needles that way and different things. So just check with your dealer, your parts guy, see if he can look it up in Lightspeed. And sometimes you'll get lucky and a dealer will still have the part.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, you know what? We didn't talk about this RMZ back here behind us.
We We did in the first show.
We did in the first part.
Oh my gosh. We didn't talk about it in the second one?
Nope.
You're sure?
100%.
All right. So okay, you're sure.
Hold on. Do you want to save this for like in the products?
No. Let's talk about the RMZ. So the RMZ, we just got this bike from Suzuki. We're going to do some projects with, and then we'll be racing it, which will mainly be Cody racing it.
But you're not this guy right here.
No,
this isn't you.
Not on the track. I like it big bike on the dual sport ride. That's about it. And I'll ride a 450. I'll ride a 450 on the hill tracks. Maybe,
Right.
I like that. The Honda 450 we liked a lot this year. So that RMZ 450, really good bike. It's just stuck in 2018. I think was the last time it really got major updates.
Yeah.
So it's just stuck in time, unfortunately. We all know, but we also know how well even a modified version works. Like when Roxon riding that thing,
right.
They have the bike working fine. So other than you have to kick it. Which kind of sucks. So
that's a problem for me.
It needs some suspension stuff. We're going to do suspension, ECU from Twisted, and a few other bits. We're not going to do a ton to it. And the bikes are pretty good and reliable. That's one really good thing. And so we'll put some time on it and put that to the test.
Yeah. I already, from the first part, Spencer told me it's 9,300 MSRP.
Okay, so it's probably like $8,000.
$8,000.
And like I said, a guy just bought a Honda 24. He wrote me for 75 plus fees. So he was out the door. He was like in Georgia area, out the door for like 8,500.
So how does that happen? Because I know that. So is that Honda giving rebates?
And yes, because they need to get rid of these old stock so they can pump the 25.
Hey, I bought like a couple of those 06 Honda Sierra 450s because they had done some kind of overrun on them.
Yes.
And that there was that old place in LA, Out the Door Honda, and I think I paid like $4,500 out the door for it because they had so many they had to get rid of.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That was the start of the fall. Like by 08, 09, that's when things started really going down.
Yeah.
Okay. We got a last question on that page?
Yeah, I got another question here. Alabama guy. Dude, I guess it helps to have tons of followers. I've been sponsored by FMF since the 1990s and couldn't get them to do a factory fatty or shorty for my 96 build. I just ended up with, if you end up with any extra, let me know. Feels wrong to put a PC on one.
Yes. Okay. So right here, he's talking about this pipe right here. It comes chrome. That's all FMF makes. We've talked about this, that on these older bikes, it's hard for them to make pipes every different one for an older 30-year-old bike, right? So they make just a chrome one, make one version, and they didn't make me a special one. They didn't make me a special silencer. So he's thinking they did. And I do work with those guys well, but unfortunately their production is so gnarly to go in there, interrupt, and try to get someone without chrome or to go special make a shorty, not possible. So Robbie's Pipe Repairs, who helped me with that, and we stripped them. We actually had them stripped here in Temecula. We got them stripped and then sent to him to blast off and colored them and welded the badges on. That's pretty rad.
Tried to get a fatty for that, but that's a gnarly, right? That's like the off-road pipe. But you can't get them at all.
No.
For the KX500.
Same thing on this bike. That's all you can get.
Yeah.
And so the silencer's the same thing. We shortened those. So, and if you watch one of our CR build videos, we show that process a little bit, that we actually cut them, shorten them, all that.
Yeah.
So anyway, no special treatment for me on that one.
No.
I do get some now and then, but not that one.
Not that one.
All right. Are you through that page? Let's just finish that page.
You want to finish this page?
Yeah.
All right. Brian asks, good afternoon, Jay. Is there anything I can do to remove some mild scratch damage from my plastic? He unwillingly laid his bike down and got some good scratches on the radiator shrouds.
I'm not sure who willingly does it, but
yeah, I don't do anything.
Yeah, he got the. See, we got a picture here of his Red Bull graphics on his factory edition.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So you can see
the sublimated stuff.
Yeah, and so unfortunately, it just doled out the whole side. And in the picture, I think it even looks worse. So he's ready for some Decal Works graphics, I said. Just some 600 grit sandpaper wet. He could clean up all the scratches off, contact clean it off, throw some new graphics on there, and you're good to go. That's what I told him. Unfortunately, the reality is for a 10 grand bike or 15, that bike's probably 10 to 12 grand, right? So
yeah,
to lose a $60, you can buy a set of shrouds for $60, I think. So in the grand scheme of things, It's not very much just to buy new shrouds if you need to. Our sport isn't cheap, but it's a lot cheaper than four-wheel sports, motorsports.
Yeah. Don't you remember when the factory editions first came out, if you didn't have a serial number for the bike, you couldn't buy that plastic.
Right.
They were like, because they didn't want you making a factory edition.
They're being pretty controlling.
Yeah. All right. Chris. Hello, Jay. How are you? I like using green and maroon Scotch-Brite pads on my dirt bike aluminum frame every time I wash it. Will this harm the aluminum frame, like diminish it? Same effect of using grit. Or can I use it every single wash and nothing will happen to the frame? I'm afraid it'll weaken the frame, but just love how clean it gets. Best regards.
Okay, he can scrub away. And the only thing I think of is Shawshank. I mean, unless he's going to just spend 20 years, rubbing that frame every day, he's not going to wear through that frame. So he should be just fine. Yeah. Scrub that thing every time you wash it. You're not going to hurt anything.
Yeah. That was my favorite. Just like him, I loved using it on my Honda frames.
Right. All right. We through that one?
Yeah. Let's do a product spotlight.
All right. So a couple things. Let's talk. Are we all through that page?
Yeah.
Okay. So first thing we're going to talk about is our Dirt Bike TV shirt, the merch. Been asking for that. So we got the shirt, t-shirt here. You can get that from Decal Works. It's very simple. And we have a discount code, DBTV1, and you save 20%. So it's a great deal, which kind of covers the shipping. So cool shirt if you guys want to represent with that. And then as far as other product stuff, we're going to talk about tubes.
No.
We're
not talking about that tube.
This tube is like a quarter. So both tubes combined are like a quarter pound or something crazy. I did a little video. I just pulled these out of a current Stark. And so for whatever reason, they wanted to cut down weight on the bike, and they had these paper thin like pool tubes. I'd never seen anything like this in my life. And I guess they use them in some bicycle stuff or something. So I think it might be kind of a cool thing to have as a backup, like in your backpack for a trail. But as far as actual use it, especially on a motocross track, it'd be pretty gnarly. Hey, one thing I'll talk about real quick though on that Stark, Donnie, unbelievable. Trevor Stewart, really fast rider, off-road guy.
Yep.
Amazing rider. And he usually rides Yamahas. He rode a Stark there, dude. Hole shotted, insane. Didn't get a great jump. Hole shotted, this incredible hole shot. Gets all around. And Josh Mosman was behind him. Okay, it was like a 25 plus class or whatever. And Josh, it was only like a 4-lap race, so it was pretty short. And Josh got him at the end. And it sounds like they're similar speed, even when they're both on 450s.
Do you know if that thing was turned all the way up?
Oh yeah,
it was.
And you could see it up the hill. The thing would just crank. So there's gonna start to come a time where these bikes. Like, and listen to me, I don't really have a problem per se with electric bikes, but I do think that things should race, you should be equally yoked in what you're racing.
100%.
Okay? 250s, race 250s or whatever. Vet class, they go, well, vet class, you can race whatever. But my problem with that is that Stark can be ridden by a guy maybe not quite equipped to handle 80 horsepower going around Talladega and then be more sketchy taking people out. So there's something we're going to have to look at.
Well, there's something else too. Like there's no clutch, so he just gives it gas.
Yeah.
He just sits, waits for the gate to drop, and
people go, well, that's just helping it, advance and everything. But I want to see things raced that are somewhat similar. So I think what's going to be cool is when you have enough electric bikes to race each other, and you have real racing between the same type of bikes. So that's to me is the future of where it's going to be. And obviously, they're not going to be allowed in most professional racing anytime soon. They're not going to be allowed at Supercross or motocross, anything like that anytime soon, because it's not the same thing. You can't race it against a 250F or you can't race it against a 450 because of those things. So that was the first time I'd seen a legitimate fast guy race another fast guy on a 450, and he pulled him down that entire start.
I'm going to say something probably mildly unpopular.
Oh,
I think that we shouldn't be racing 450s anymore professionally.
There's a lot of people that feel that way.
I think they should be 300 four-strokes or 350s.
Yep.
I mean, something like, they don't even have to, like you see these guys doing quads like it's nothing.
Right.
And
we see it at the local level and at that vet race this weekend. I would say there's a large percentage of the guys that probably shouldn't be on 450s, but they feel they have to, especially for the start and maybe some of the hills like at a Glen Helen. They need it for the start because now they would, if they were all on 350s or 250Fs, they would all be fine, but they all, they can't give that up on the start.
Yeah. My other riding buddies, the ones, the other riding buddies, we all rode 450s forever.
Right.
And then I you were telling me, and then I rode Grant's 350, and I'm like, I actually think I'm at an advantage on the 350 over the 450.
And we prove it when I ride my 350, because you haven't been riding a lot, so I'm a little faster than you now. Okay. Yep. But you were faster than me a few years ago before all your problems. Right. Okay. Now I'm a decent amount because I'm riding a lot more than you.
Right.
Okay. But when I'm on the 350, we're closer.
Yeah.
When I'm on the 250F, I'm actually faster.
You're faster.
Yeah, I take off.
Your corner speed's really impressive on that bike.
Yeah, we're talking slow old guys here. We're not. So let's not kid ourselves.
It's like slow motion.
Right.
It's slow motion.
So I'm a little bit faster than Donnie through the turn. But we notice the last few months when we go out, when I'm on the 250F, I'm a lot faster than I'm comparatively to when I'm on the 350. We're a lot closer. So bigger difference. And because I
don't think I would ride that 250 as well as you do.
Yeah. I think you have to be riding it all the time. Yeah. And once you ride them all the time and get the hang of it, it's really fun. And at the vet race this weekend, I was doing just fine and hardly ever got pulled up the hill because I would come in with better corner speed and could stay even or even pull a tiny bit against a larger bike.
But how good is that Yamaha?
Oh, it's so good. The 250F, really good.
Yeah.
And so the Honda's really good too. So I'm looking forward to trying a few more 250Fs this year and playing with them. I have fun with that. So I think I'm going to be riding more 250Fs on the track this year.
Would you think about 250 SXF as well?
Yes. Yeah, but unfortunately, it doesn't come with great forks, and that's my holdup on there. Right. I don't like the air forks as much.
There's always a lot of work to get them
right. Yeah, I got to be jogging, moving forks around. It's always a hassle. So I don't that part I don't.
And
really
and the Yamaha is exactly the opposite. Their forks are amazing.
So good. Yeah. So and the new Honda's been improved a lot. So I'm looking forward to that. I like stuff that's kind of ready to go. So, all right. Did you find our question on?
No, I couldn't find it on the
grip. Okay, so I'll just bring it up. This guy wrote me. And he asked about grip glue, and he was talking about just using an adhesive, like that spray adhesive, like 777 or whatever, 3M, and different things. But this Motion Pro grip glue is really good because it doesn't make a dried up mess. So for me, I would use this or a super glue type glue. The super glue, if you're at the track and you're in a bind and you have someone that's going to help you, because you get one chance.
Gotta be quick.
And we've messed them up. So what I do is put a little bit more than you think, because you want it to slippery on, and then spin it and hold it right there where you need it. And you got to pull it. I have somebody holding, and I wear gloves or have a rag and on the grip, so when you push it on, and especially if you're doing the throttle side, I poke a little hole on the outside so that it can vent. So I'll put super glue on the throttle tube and tape off the hole so none can go inside the throttle. And then pull it over, and I have some super glue or grip glue inside the grip itself, and then pull it over and have someone helping you when you're doing super glue. Yeah. Because you got to go fast. You get one shot.
Be quick.
So those are the only two glues I use. The super glue I would only use if you're in an emergency situation, you need it done right away, but it does work. And then this Motion Pro glue works really well and doesn't leave a ton of residue. So let's read some of those comments, and then we can go into our other stuff.
Yeah.
What do you got? Tell me what you got.
Oh, well, you read the first one.
No, read it.
All right. It says, I love Donnie's quick question to Jay. Do you even own feelings? So funny.
Yes, I do. But yes, we
can
joke around a lot.
You own feelings sometimes. You know when you own...
But remember, some of our friends, we're not going to say who, some friends, we're not going to indicate. Okay? Some friends can't play along.
Well, I think that you own feelings away from dirt bikes.
Right.
Okay, so you have less feelings around dirt bike situations.
Because it's black and white in a way.
It's black and white.
Right.
Like what happens if a buddy shows up with, say, a bald tire to go ride off-road? Right. How do you feel about that?
Right. Or they show up, we got to stop and get gas.
Got to get gas.
We got to get this. We got to get that.
Never check their tire pressure.
No.
What do those people get?
Right.
They get it. Right. They get things that they don't like.
Right.
All right. Am I reading all these, or are you reading some?
Yeah, you read them.
Oh, you want me to read them? The loading and unloading of bikes and gear and cleaning is what keeps me from riding more often. That's from Kevin McMullen.
And this is sad. I just think, now to me, then this guy, couple things. Electric bike, maybe behind the house, right? Okay. Or dual sport that you can ride from the house. Okay. Again, go look for the dump or the train tracks, and you don't have to go load and whatever. But for me, working on bikes and being organized with bikes and loading is part of the whole fun. I joke around with Spencer that the trail ride trips we plan, the thought of it and the whole thing, like the Vegas baby.
Yeah.
Okay. The whole thought of it is
that just happened to me.
Yeah. The whole thought of it is more exciting. And there's a term for it. I can't remember what it is. Spencer has a term too. Killed the creature or whatever he says. But the whole thought of it and getting ready for it and going is sometimes better than the actual thing.
What does Spencer like better? Because I feel like he hardly rides moto, and he's always on the trail.
Oh no, but he doesn't get to ride that much trail because it's more difficult and time consuming.
No, but I see him on the trail more than the track.
Right. But he still prefers the track if he had a choice, but a good track like a Glen Helen, for instance.
Yeah, the problem is there's only one Glen Helen.
Right.
It's still moto. He just texted me.
Still moto. Good. Yeah, okay.
All right. Good for Spencer. All right. Nate Doc 808 commented on the mixing a two-stroke gas made easy video. Two-stroke oil is an excellent fuel stabilizer and won't hurt four-stroke engines when mixed quite lean, particularly in small carbureted machines like lawnmowers, etc.
I've heard of this. Guys using two-stroke, a little bit of two-stroke.
As a stabilizer.
Yeah, as a stabilizer, because it keeps the gas from turning bad as quick. So if he's using it, I say
Do you ever use any stable or seafoam or anything?
No, because we just take gas out. Our problem here isn't cold and stuff. It's the heat. And the heat is so bad. And I think I don't want to run most of that stuff through, especially the fuel-injected bikes. So I don't want to risk it. So we just drain gas out. Is our answer.
All right.
You got another one?
AACC8990 commented on the Don't Scratch the Rims Pro tire change.
Oh, I got a cheater tire.
Yeah, this tire seems like it's really soft rubber-sided walls. All the tires that I've installed have thicker tire walls and is hard like a brick. One thing that I've learned is heat the tire up makes it a lot easier. Are you cheating, Jay?
Yeah, exactly. We'd have to have hundreds of cheat tires because he hasn't seen how many videos we've done.
The problem is that there actually is no tire like that exists. The sidewall.
Yeah. So as far as the soft tires, we do some 18-inch stuff, Some 18-inch stuff is a lot easier than others, but for the most part, the Dunlops which is all we use, are some of the stiffest sidewall tires out there.
Oh,
strength-wise.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right.
What about that gummy tire, that gummy dual sport tire? Is that easier to put on, or is the carcass still the same?
Still pretty stiff.
Pretty stiff.
Yeah, on that 950.
It actually probably even be harder because it's like a littler tire in a way, right? Mm-hmm. Is it a 100?
No, it's bigger. We're sure what size that is. It's a 4. It's a 4.5 or something they call it.
Oh, it's a 4.5. It's different size.
Yeah. Oh, 4.
It's a 4.
4 by 18. 4 inches, 18.
Right. Interesting.
All right.
John Branson 7253 commented on the TBI 300 versus carbureted 300, which is better. He just said, keeping my 17 300 XC with the spring fork.
Not a bad thing to do.
No.
We just did a brand new video that just came out a couple weeks ago on comparing the carbureted 2019 XC versus a new TBI bike. If you have a good carbureted bike and you're taking care of it, it's all in good shape, no problem. That bike's going to be good for a long time. Just keep good care of it.
What's the last year of the carbureted? 18?
2019 300 XC, the XC version. I think maybe even the XCW version, but they went to TPI, and that was not as good.
Yeah, we went on that one trail ride a few years ago, and you had a carbureted, and John had the TPI. We kept going back and forth, and the carburetor was definitely a better bike.
Right. And we do get some comments from guys. We'll see. I think there might be one in here about TPI. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. All right. ADZ24888 must know your dirt bike hacks and tips. Yes, I agree. I've been riding, even working on dirt bikes, road bikes, rebuilding this. Is the video series riders should watch.
So that video is about 40 minutes long. Spencer helped edit that. We've talked about that video a bunch, but it has 125 tips and tricks. Really good one to check out. If you haven't checked that one out, or if you know is somebody that's new to the sport, working on their stuff, just send them that video. It's really helpful. I got another one here, Donnie, on that TPI.
Yeah.
Greg 383 says, I have a TPI 300 with 330 hours and not a single issue. I race enduros and tons of other TPI bikes with 300, 400, 500 hours. In my experience, issues with the TPI are way overblown on the internet. And this is totally possible. But the ones I've experienced, and I've seen them firsthand, have scared me off. But I have seen guys like this that have had no problem. So I don't know if it's a luck thing or what the deal is, but most of the guys that I've come in contact with have problems. And I don't doubt he's lying. You know, his bike has 330 hours on it.
Yeah. Have they been basically improving all those problems?
Yes, each year it got better, and there's different updates. And then there's companies like South Bay Motorsports, I think it is, and they have a good map. I've rode their map on a couple guys' bikes. They changed the map and put a head in. That really makes them run better. That's been the
What's the advantage? Issue. What's the advantage of the TPI bike?
Of the TPI?
Yes.
Over the carburetor?
Yes.
Not much.
Nothing.
Oh, no advantage, I don't think.
No.
More complicated. I don't see it being
carburetors
better.
Always have better bottom end.
Even the TBI, the new one, the 24 that we're riding, I can't say that it's better. It's just that it's new. It's a new bike, right? So I don't want to give away too much in the video, but on the new bike, the new generation, the 24, 25, 300. But here's my problem or quandary is that the XCW TE version is really easy to ride, good bike, but it's not really fast enough compared to the carbureted one. But if you buy an XC or TX on the Husky version, it's a gnarly like race bike, really tough to manage that power on the tight trails. And for me, one of my problems is the 300 two-stroke. I really mainly only prefer it in the mountains in the summertime. For the most part, I'd rather be on a 4-stroke 350 about anywhere else.
But isn't it funny that the fuel-injected 4-stroke is better than the carbureted 4-stroke?
Not even close. But on the 2-stroke, I think you can make a carburetor either with the key-in or with Electron. You can make it work well. I heard
somebody like experimenting with direct like port injection on those on a 2-stroke, and I heard they worked really well.
They did on jet skis, on a triple-cylinder jet ski set. But a jet ski is a totally different type of power, right? On, off.
On, off, yeah.
You just let off.
Yeah.
And I don't think you need to be like on a trail. So that's such a different type of power, you know. Anyway, I'm still, I think the TBI, the new generation 300 XC is a really big improvement. I would recommend most guys, and guys buy the wrong bike, really look at the XCW or TE 300s as your choice as a trail machine.
I'm going to ask another dumb question because I just don't know. Is that oil injected as well?
It is. We bypassed it on ours, on the TE. The XC version is not oil injected. You mix gas. On the TE and the XCW version, it's oil injected.
What about the SX?
Yeah, it's pre-mix. You mix it.
Yeah. Okay.
So...
All right. I don't know how to say this. If it's CHHRGJIG.
That sounds good.
Okay. I just bought a new bike and was excited to ride it, but when I unloaded it and I turned the fuel on, it started puking gas. For a week, I thought I had to rebuild the carburetor, but then I just tried this fix and my issue was gone. Thank you. So it's on the leaky carb video.
So simple tech tip for you guys. If you have a needle seat that's stuck, over the years we see guys hit it with a hammer or a screwdriver against the side of the carburetor. You see these carburetors
that's
with dents.
Old technology hitting it.
Remember there was dents. You see the carburetor always dents on them, banging it. You just pull the fuel line off of the petcock and then shoot an air hose into that line. It'll shoot air through the carburetor and blow out hopefully whatever's stuck. This works for us. If everything's in decent shape, it works like 70%, 80% of the time.
We need to do a video, a show talking about new tips on versus old tips. So like you used to work on bikes a certain way.
Right.
And like this is a new, I mean, I'm sure you've hit a carburetor before in your life.
But I would use the wood end of the hammer.
I would use the end of the plastic screwdriver.
Right.
So I'd always use like those. But
not the steel.
I'd never used anything hard.
Raymond Stewart, I think it is, Raymond's Stewart, went out riding yesterday with a guy that had a brand new 25 TX 300. We were just talking about those. And 3 miles from getting back to camp with 5 inches of gas in his tank, the bike stopped running. Had to go back to camp and get my truck, go pick him up. Ridiculous. How can they give you a big tank that can't use the last gallon of fuel in it? Stupid. He's mad. Now, it probably wasn't a gallon, but it's still... It is stupid. So the way the new fuel pump is on the new generation KTMs, 24, 25, 26, these new bikes.
I don't even understand how it can work.
So they have the pump comes in here. Now, if you're racing, you're moving and splashing, and all the fuel is going to get sucked up. But if you're just riding, like they're probably just riding back the road and trail. And then here's the other problem with that tank is once it runs empty, you have to fill it up past the pump for it to suck all the fuel out of there. So you have to prime it. And so it can't just be a little bit. So we have a brand new video that just came out a couple weeks ago that shows you, if you're serious, this is a serious, because it's like $1,000, $900 to $1,000 fix, because you need to buy an old pump, and you can buy a big tank from IMS, and you can put the old pump, and we'll show a picture right here, Donnie. Show a picture. You have that picture we shot of your bike.
Yep.
So put your EXC up here, and we have a picture of Donnie's EXC where that
XCF.
We did it in your EXC, your new one.
Oh yeah, that one. I'm saying what we customized.
Yeah, that we won't even show that deal, but we did do this before it was available. We made our own. But on the new EXC, it's actually the purpose-built tank from IMS that allows you to put the old pump in the bottom, and you can get every bit of fuel out of it. And if you ever do run out of gas, you can only put in a water bottle's amount of gas, not water, but a water bottle's gas amount of gas, 12 ounces or whatever, and it'll start right up. It'll prime that easy, so it doesn't take much. So that's some advantages of it. So if you're serious into dual sport and you're concerned about, or trail riding, you're concerned about running out of fuel, that's going to be your best option. I don't see KTM fixing this anytime soon.
This is the craziest thing, because now hear me out. KTM already has the old style pump, right? And they go, okay, in the old bikes, in the off-road bikes, let's put the old style pump and fuel tank on here.
Yeah.
Compared to the new style for a motocross bike.
Yeah, they're all in. And on a motocross bike, it's not really an issue. But on trail riding, this is a bigger issue. So that's why we made that video, to show you how to put one in. It's a kind of a tech video showing how to install one on a KTM. And it's a lot of work. And it's a lot of money to build one, because you got to buy the tank, and then you got to buy the fuel pump, which is like $400.
How much is the tank?
It's probably $450 or something.
So you're in $900 into it.
It's a $900 deal, I think, easy. And you got to buy some fittings, so it might end up being a little more. You got to buy some fittings.
$1,000 deal.
It could be. I have to look at that, but it's at least $900 to do it right. But it's worth it if you are serious about your deal. And there's going to be a lot of guys out there who are serious dual sport guys or trail guys who want to run.
It is better.
And it's a 3.5 gallon tank from IMS, and it doesn't feel big at all when you're riding it on that EXC.
Don't even notice it.
Don't even notice it. All right.
I do notice it a tad bit when you stick your leg out, because the bottom of the tank sticks out slightly more. It's not like a problem, but I do feel the tank more than the old style.
Right.
Okay.
Are we through all those?
We got more to go, but we're over an hour.
I think we're all the way through all those.
You want to go all the way?
No, I think
we got 3 more.
I think we went through them. All right,
Nope.
you got some?
I think so.
I think we're pretty good then.
Okay, we're good.
Air filter guy commented on the air filter one. Zach, air filter video we did. He says thanks. He was curious about the grease. We don't run grease on our air filter inner lip. That would be your video for the old school. Old school bikes would run grease on there because they would suck in dirt and air and dirt through that gap. If you have your filter well oiled and you're on a newer generation bike, there's very few, if any, bikes that will ever suck. It's only if you don't put it on correctly.
It's been like this for over 10 years.
Oh yeah, long time. So that's the only thing on that one.
Oh, we're good then.
We're good enough. So we went through all that. Products by we're going to mention this seat just because Donnie picked up this seat for me.
No. Donnie dropped it off and picked it up.
Same day, out in Lake Havasu, Arizona, is where Moto seat moved. And so I am. I got the good staple gun.
Yeah. Well, they, him and Tony commented on you and your staple gun, and she wanted to take it away from you, but Travis pointed out that you actually bought it yourself.
Did I?
That's what he said.
I think he's lying to her.
Oh boy. Well, hopefully she doesn't listen to this show.
I doubt it.
I showed up,
and no one's listening to the show this far into it hardly. So
probably.
All right.
I showed up there, and he's like, "I'll do this real quick," and I'm like, "Perfect." So he knocked it out.
You didn't film him, did you?
No.
You should have filmed him.
I know.
We haven't done a video.
I was playing with their dog.
They got a cute dog.
Baja. Yeah.
Very cool. All right. So this is going on our new KTM 250 build.
Okay. So I showed up with that, right? Yeah. And then he goes, I got the cover right here. And he pulled the cover out. And I looked at it. I'm like, there's no way that there's an orange cover going on this bike. Jay can't stand orange. I go, this looks like it would go on one of my bikes.
Right. It's our beater bike. I just bought it cheap. And I was like, I'm going to do a quick story with it.
You're not doing a color change.
Nope. It's all orange. Yeah. You'd be proud of me.
I was shocked. Yeah. I actually like, oh man, I like this seat.
You're right. I usually don't do the orange seats. So we did that. And then let's do album.
Yeah.
CD.
Let's do album.
Look at this. Do you have any CDs? You don't have any CDs. But
no, I told you they got stolen.
Right. So this one doesn't even have any cover. I think I bought it at the store. I probably got it really cheap.
Remember Warehouse, you used to be able to buy used CDs.
I buy tons of used CDs.
Yeah.
So this is Metallica's Black Album. And this thing is so good. The first 6 songs on this album are insane, with Inner Sandman. And Inner Sandman, Sad But True, Holier Than Thou, The Unforgiven, Wherever I May Roam, Don't Tread on Me. Those 6 are the first 6. Now, most of Metallica stuff, I'm on the fence, like, Master of Puppets. I can deal with some. I love some Metallica stuff. This album is like more radio. Bob Rock is the one that helped produce it. It was a little bit more radio, right? A little bit less, gnarly.
What else?
More bass.
They made very elaborate videos for these.
Yes. Yeah, right before this remember the video for One?
One.
Oh.
That one was gnarly.
They played that nonstop on MTV. Yeah, it was just like nonstop.
Yeah.
Hold My Breath As I Wish for Death.
I had a guy I worked with that was I believe he had a Metallica altar at his house. And he would come in like every day. And I gotta be honest, I like Metallica, but I'm no super fan.
Right.
And he would come in and I would just be like, dude, shut up about Metallica. I've had it. Now, I love AC/DC. At that time, I've always loved AC/DC. So I don't have an altar, but the guy would non-stop talk about Metallica. It actually made me kind of dislike them.
but a cool band.
They're
and
a great band.
Still around. I listened to some of the new album, the 72 Seasons, I think it's called, or something. It's really, really pretty good. Again, he doesn't have the same impact when it's not being played anywhere. I don't have anybody else listening to it, but it seems pretty good. So still making some good music, really fun. Anything else for the show? Does Spencer have any questions or anything?
I don't know. Spencer is not...
Is he still around?
I think he's listening, but he's probably tuned out of us.
So at least Spencer said still Moto.
Oh no, I just got a text from him.
He says all good.
He's all good.
All right, so I think that's a wrap for our show. Are we way long? How long are we?
We're not way long, but we're an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh! So the guys that want the long show are gonna be stoked.
Listen. I stopped. Listen to me.
I stopped complaining.
I stopped complaining. You got to give what the fans want, right?
Okay, right now we're gonna turn over to the Langston show from a couple weeks ago to see some of these rad bikes. Okay, here we are on location at Langston's Motorsports 2024 bike show. You got the 90s bikes, which of course we think is cooler than the 80s or 70s guys, but you're gonna be able to see all kinds of these cool bikes right now. Donnie's got some great footage for us. See what you guys think. Okay, of course, Donnie's going to start with this KX500 at our booth here. There's just an incredible amount of moto history at these shows. I'm not a huge fan of shows per se, but this has kind of brought me into it. Donovan Mitchell is out there. He's great, one of the first KTM riders in the recent history, and got hurt. Another one of those injuries that we hate to see. And it's just great to see so much history. Lots of older guys. I see Kenny Jones right there in that shot. I told Donnie I didn't want to watch the video first, that I wanted to just kind of run with it and, be free balling here and just comment as we go. There's my YZ250. I should sell this thing and get rid of that older. It's a 1987 YZ250 that I need to get rid of because I don't think I want to do a build with it. These old BSAs were all 4-strokes. And that's what started the revolution. RM250 Palmer, this guy's really cool. We got a cool video coming from him soon. There's some of these bikes that were kind of, like this Triumph before the Japanese bikes kind of took over. That's when you saw more of these like Bull Tacos and different brands of bikes. Yamaha's, the guy right there, the hooligan guy, he's quite a character at the races, or the vet races that we go to. And even this mid-90s Nolene bike, really rad. just fun to see guys hanging out and doing this. The only bummer thing about these shows is that it ruins a Saturday of riding for me. I don't get to ride that Saturday. And here we see a 96 CR250, another one. A guy did a great job, and tons of 90s bikes, which was really cool to see so many 90s bikes fixed up. And you got some of Grant's bikes that he raced with, after that. And then Honda Elsinores are just some of the prettiest bikes out there. That's one of the things that everybody really likes to see, those out there. But I think I would always rather be riding than at a bike show, because that's kind of the way I am. But
you'd rather be riding than anything else.
Yeah. So I wish these shows were on a Wednesday night or something. But I guess it's too difficult to get people to come out, and then it wouldn't ruin a Saturday riding.
What about a Friday night or Saturday night?
Look at me revving this thing up. Let's hear that thing. Oh, that's my buddy Scott. I'm just filming him. So this, our CR250s here, this is the one in the Racer X magazine. We had 20 or 30 guys come up and rev it up. So everybody dug the drone footage here that Langston's had. Ratto came out and watched. We had a bunch of friends stop by the booth. Really cool time. So this is early in the day when we're just getting set up. You can see there's a ton of people brought out bikes. I think there was 250 to 300 bikes out there, is what he said. They're kind of limited on spots. He
turned guys away.
He had to turn guys away, unfortunately. So it's kind of a bummer. SoCal Mako, this guy's great up in Ventura, Oxnard area in Southern California, does a lot of custom and race bikes, builds all kinds of legitimate race bikes. And that's what got Grant into racing these things. He rode that SoCal Mako's guys' bikes first. Endless supply of vintage bikes. We still haven't done much with that Husqvarna 400 that I bought a year ago. So finally going to get on that thing. Oh, don't you love that KX500 smoke?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I put that up in slow-mo like that. It was kind of fun.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. So you get the rumble. Then guys sent me, they DM me some pictures of their own. They would DM me pictures of their CR500 going.
You think it's going to rattle apart?
Right. And they kind of do. But
yeah, it's a good point.
but anyway, so fun times. Marty Moats is the one that does the barbecue.
Yep.
Right. And Joe Abadi's out there. Lots of cool industry guys. This MR50 was a first bike for a lot of guys.
Yeah.
Norm Bigelow from Kawasaki brought out some like this, some really custom bikes from their race museum. So from Kawasaki. Grant's out there. Lots of guys and past champions. You got Ricky Johnson there. Lots of guys just talking and enjoying the day. There's where we rev up all these CRs. Let's just listen to that. Ratto took a little bit to get that one started.
Yeah.
All right. But anyway, good time. CR250s. Who doesn't love that, right? That's a good way to end the show, right? But I think the best way to end the show is to be a winner.
Yeah.
If you're going to go, right? Yeah. So that's what happened at this one. I don't want to spoil it too much, but there you go. And we like to get some good photos out there. Had some people come out, and there we go. There's the champion's trophy right there. That's the People's Choice champion. I
think you rigged it.
Well, I lobbied a bit. I didn't do any, cheating. I just lobbied.
You didn't stuff any ballots?
Nope. I never even filled one out myself.
Yeah, I didn't either.
All right. Hey, that's a quick look at that Langston show. If you're around next October, it's something you want to check out. Pretty fun deal. Okay, so that's a wrap. Long show. Everybody loves a long show, right, Donnie?
They love it.
All right. Just a little more work for you, but it doesn't really affect me as much. But you said you've stopped complaining as much.
Yeah, I'm done complaining.
All right. So that's it for the show. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, share it with your buddies. We'll see you next time.
See ya.
We work with some great companies, and here's a list of those right now. Dunlop Motorcycle Tires, Wiseco Piston, Vinco Air Shocks and Dirt Bike Parts, FMF Exhaust, Decal Works Graphics, Pro X Racing Parts, Recluse Clutch Revolution, Motion Pro Specialty Motorcycle Tools, Works Connection, Uni Filter, Klotz Oil, Cometic Gasket, MX Plastics, JE Pistons, Cardo Systems, ODI Bars and Grips. And remember, if you shop Rocky Mountain, use our link from our site, Linktree, or link in description of the videos. Thanks for watching and listening. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.